Hi, this week we're going to get a little more into self-defense for children. So I have one of our students helping me here today. This is Brandon. He's going to be demonstrating the techniques that we're going to share with you today. We're basically going to approach this from an escaping standpoint. There's a few different ways we approach self-defense for kids. For example, sometimes we talk about if a bully is picking on you, how to avoid that situation. But we're going to talk more about kind of stranger danger and staying safe if a grown-up, an adult that you don't know puts their hands on you, how to get away from them. So the most likely grab that an adult would use on a child is grabbing their arm, okay? And there's a few different ways they can grab your arm, and there's a few different ways you can escape from this. So Brandon's gonna demonstrate what we call the elbow in. So from this grab, he's gonna take his arm all the way around, go ahead, all the way around the outside, and he's gonna use his elbow right on the outside of my wrist. That's very difficult for me to hold on to him when he's doing that, despite the advantage I have in strength. If he executes the technique properly, he's locking my wrist in a way to where the tighter I hold on, the more pressure it puts on that wrist lock. So watch it one more time, go ahead. So it's the same technique from the opposite side, go ahead. Very good. Now, if they grab across, so that was grabbing my left arm to his right arm, a same side grab, but if they grab crossover, all he's gonna have to do is make that circle go the opposite direction, all the way around, and it's still locking the wrist the same way. I was watching the news the other night and they had a report on how you can protect yourself against a kidnapper. And they taught a technique that we teach in our white belt self-defense. It's a very effective technique, but they left one important thing out. They were showing from a wrist grab, if an attacker grabs and their thumb is on top, how we aim for the thumb. We said that's the weakest part of the hand, and we're using the biceps against the thumb. So basically the principle here is you're using your strength against your opponent's weakness. And when it's a child versus an adult, that is a vital step in self-defense. So Brandon will demonstrate this technique for you now, our single wrist grab, go ahead. And he's learned how to use the biceps, and notice another thing, he turns his wrist toward the opening. The only way he's gonna get out is between that thumb and those fingers. And so when my grab started here, he's turning his wrist toward the opening and pulling straight across his body. Very effective technique. So if I grab Brandon by the wrist or by the arm and he wants to work a strike to lead that combination, what are some good targets you could strike?
You could stop to the foot, the knee, or you could also round kick to the...
Got a few different targets, right? So if I'm now, and he called it right, I'm kind of standing at a bladed stance, I'm kind of standing sideways, or even if I'm turning away, he used that round kick to go for the groin shot, but we know if the attacker is maybe standing in a different position, maybe I'm here, a front kick would work just as well from that angle. So lots of different options he has to throw the strike, and then he follows up immediately with that escape. So another thing we teach to especially the smaller kids in the program is that it's okay to use two hands to escape, even if the attacker is just grabbing you with one hand. All he's going to do is take his opposite hand, reach over the top, and grab his fist and pull it across to the opposite ear. He's still using his whole body to pull away from that technique, but the emphasis is on the biceps. Let me show you a couple of wrong examples on how not to do this technique. So show them one way not to do it.
Don't come back and punch yourself.
Well, yeah, of course, don't do that. Don't hit yourself in the face, right? Also, you don't want to keep your arm straight and try to bring it straight up. Show them how that works. You're not using the same muscles trying to yank it away like that. Make sure you're bending the elbow. A good way to think of it, if you're helping your children with this, tell them to point their elbow down to the floor as they pull that fist up across the chest or up to the ear. But he's right. Don't make sure that they don't come up and hit themselves in the nose, because I've seen that happen several times. It's not a great idea. So the other night, one thing that they left out on that news report I was watching, they showed a video of a girl, a real video of a little girl actually getting abducted, and they said this is the same attack, the same self-defense technique that would have worked in this situation. Unfortunately, the video went really quick, and they missed one important thing. They were teaching the technique with the thumb on top, but if you look closely in the video, the attacker actually grabbed her with the thumb on bottom. So I see, and we teach this in our white belt self-defense as well, I see a lot of schools that will teach with the thumb on top. And if we're only learning to pull up and pull those biceps up toward the thumb, well, what happens if they grab this way and you go to pull up with that same technique? There's no way you're escaping. He can't go through my hand. So that could be detrimental. That could be very serious if that technique is done wrong. So what we're going to work from this angle, if the thumb goes on the bottom, instead of trying to use the triceps and yank down, he's just going to take his hand to the outside. He's just going to move it over, and that puts my thumb on top. And now he can pull up to his ear just like he did before, and it's just creating that opening for him. So we're going to show you on the opposite side so you can see a little bit better from the angle. From here, my thumb's on bottom, he brings it to the outside, and he's still just going to bend his elbow, and he's working against that thumb, kind of twisting my wrist a little bit. And the tighter I hold on, the more it's going to hurt that thumb when he breaks the grip. When it comes to self-defense, there are a lot of what-ifs. Especially working with children, there's a lot more things that can happen, and they have a lot of questions. One thing that I remind my students of, though, is that we can only learn one thing at a time. There's a lot of different ways that somebody may grab you. There's a lot of different ways you can get away from those grabs, but it's important that we focus on one thing at a time, otherwise we'll learn nothing. Here's another very important point. Is it your job to fight a bad guy?
No, I'm not supposed to try fighting somebody.
Well, whose job is it to fight a bad guy?
Oh, really?
A kidnapper.
Well, if they're like trying to hurt you or do something to you, you just try to get away.
He just said it right there. Your job, and this wasn't scripted or pre-rehearsed. I'm making sure he knows this stuff as well. Your only job as a child, your job is to get away. Now, you might have to throw strikes and martial arts techniques in order to get away, like that kick and then pull away. But I had a kid, and just working with smaller children, I had a little kid tell me one time, yeah, and then I'm going to run back and start beating them up again. And we know, Brandon's been with us for a couple years now, he knows that if you escape the first time and go back for round 2 with a grown-up, they're going to hold on tighter the second time. You make it work the first time and you get to a safe place. Well, hopefully that video was helpful to you, and if you have small children at home, please let them watch this video, share that information, share that technique with them, make sure they're doing it properly, and make sure they know the basics of self-defense. I personally don't have kids of my own yet, but when I do, I'm not going to require that they go through the martial art belts and get a black belt or anything like that, but one requirement that I will have is that they know the basics of self-defense, that they're able to protect themselves and get away from a dangerous situation. So thanks for watching, and thanks for helping out Brandon. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, do so by clicking the subscribe button below, and look forward to our videos each Monday. Thanks. This is Brandon. He didn't watch our video on how to tie your karate belt.
I twisted it.